about telekinetic activity. Look at this mess.
Raymond, look at this.
Ectoplasmic residue.
Thankman, get a sample of it.
Broadcasting live from an Airstream somewhere in Tornado Alley, bringing you the people, places, and stories from the Panhandle to the Red River. This is your Only in Oklahoma show.
Well, Oklatober continues, and this time around, we're taking a ghost walk through the spirit realm with the Sultan of Spirit Walks, Jeff Provine. I'm Brett.
And I am Harley.
It's been, we talk about a little bit in the opening to the interview. It has been 4 years since we talked to Jeff Provine last.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but again, dude, we just deleted a couple of years out of the calendar, I think.
Yeah, but it's been 4 years and 20 books since he's written 20 books since the last time we talked to him. But, you talking about that a little bit, how we kind of deleted a couple of years, we've talked to some ghost walk tour guides around, and, there were a lot of concessions made and a lot of modifications made to doing some of those ghost walks to not discontinue those, but it was just so few and far between. There really wasn't a whole lot to talk about. And in 4 years, man, Jeff, he's been a busy guy.
Yeah, I think, they locked him down and he just busted out a dozen books.
Well, we get to talk to him about, in his latest book, Haunted Garfield County. Let's talk to Jeff Provine. Well, chances are likely, if you've heard the word ghost walk, you've heard of Jeff Provine. He does ghost walks absolutely anywhere and everywhere. He's written 100 books. He's the ghost host with the most. It's Jeff Provine. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure to have you back on the show again. You have been a very busy person since the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, yeah.
How long ago?
It's been 4 years.
I think it's 4 years.
Okay, 4 years.
Yeah,
two of those years don't count.
Well, that's become kind of a theme on this show when we talk to people we haven't talked since before the Voldemort virus that nobody talks about. What a crazy time. I'm sure there'll be plenty of those ghost stories in 100 years from now. We're talking about the plague. So what have you been up to, man, in the last 4 years?
I have been doing quite a bit of writing. So sticking around, reading, and seeing what stories we have not only here in Oklahoma, but then worldwide, too. Is this book I had out last spring called Compendium of Creeps. But my latest Oklahoma book that came out this past fall is Haunted Garfield County.
And like I said off the air, you're a Garfield County alum, right?
That's right. I grew up just 1 mile north of the county line in Grant County on the old family land run farm.
That has got to be... If that's not where your interest in kind of I hate to say paranormal, because that just, if that doesn't kind of heighten your passion for what you do, living on something as historic as, or in such a historic location as that, I don't know what would, honestly.
Oh yeah. It's all, you walk past the same stuff every day, but you don't really hear the stories about, why this building is here and who built this and all that. So I had the luxury of at least, having family photos of the people who built this.
Man, that is so cool. So Garfield County, again, when we think, I think when most people think Jeff Provine, they automatically think the ghost tours in Norman and OKC. But with this book, Garfield County, you really shine a light on something, again, that maybe a lot of people may not have any knowledge about. Can you tell us a little bit about what went into writing that book?
Yeah, well, first thing, I knew I wanted to team up with Tammy Wilson, who's also from Enid, and she has tons of stories doing her ghost tour up there. And I knew a couple of very recent things and a lot of historical spooky stories, and she has all these stories that I was just a little bit too young to know about, like Dead Man's Cave and the murder and all the spooky stuff going on there. So teamed up and put together something that I learned a lot, having written it, and I hope a lot of people pick it up and learn these things too.
Can you tell us a good Enid scary story? I mean, it being October and all.
Oh yeah, there's no shortage. which I mentioned Dead Man's Cave, which you can go visit there. It's just a little bit north of downtown. It's not actually a cave. It's the drainage system from Old Boggy Creek. So that would run through, and they, after the big flood, basically paved over it. And so it's just an easy way for the extra creek water to go under the town instead of through the town, which when it's not flooded, it's a very infamous kind of subterranean highway. So people could enter into it and then walk underground all the way down to about St. Mary's.
Well, how far is that on surface level? What's the distance?
With the twisting and stuff, I think it would be just a little bit over a mile.
Wow.
But while you're down there, yeah, you got to keep an eye out because you'll hear footsteps of other people walking around, which is pretty spooky when you don't know who these people are.
Right. Are these? And then you have to wonder: are these spectral footsteps, or is it a transient footstep, which is even probably more frightening than a spectral footstep?
That's right. Different kind of spooky.
So Jeff, someone told me a story, and I was like, "Is this real? Can you go into the John Wilkes Booth legend of Enid just a little bit?"
Yeah, which I did not expect this. I'd heard it, a little bit, but once I started looking into it, there was a lot of weird coincidences, if not the truth. So, of course, the accepted truth is John Wilkes Booth was killed in Virginia after the assassination of Lincoln and everything. And there's lots of people who have theories that it wasn't actually him and was hiding out. Somebody covered for him and all this stuff. And the military said they had gotten him, and so they'd already dispatched some of the money and everything, so they were a little hesitant to walk that back. But the story is that he got away. And then tying it with the Enid story, shortly after the turn of the century into the 1900s, there was this guy who got really, really sick and wanted to talk to a priest, and so they brought him in, and he confessed that he was John Wilkes Booth, and he'd been on the run for all these years. And so the guy was like, "Yeah, sure, good, you're
Right.
sick, so I'll humor you," and so forth.
Right.
And then he died after it. And, he was kind of infamous around town. He would recite Shakespeare for beer money.
Oh, wow.
He'd be like, "Hey, buy me a drink and I'll give you a soliloquy and all this," which is kind of a weird thing for a guy who was a professional house painter, which is another word for transient back then.
Right. And,
Yeah.
well, and the reciting Shakespeare thing would maybe back up some of the claims of being John Wilkes Booth, since John Wilkes Booth wasn't he not an actor at the Ford Theater as well?
Quite a few theaters. He
Yeah.
traveled around a lot. Yeah, he was a whole family of actors, well recognized.
So-
I heard somebody today was saying, like, it'd be like if one of the Hemsworths assassinated the president. And
Wow.
you'd be like, dang, really? Like,
Yeah, you don't
that's
think
a lot.
about that.
Yeah.
Wilkes Booth almost kind of was made out to almost be like a patsy, just a little. You know what I mean? Nothing to be taking too seriously. But again, like you said, once you start kind of peeling back those layers, you find out, wow, like you said, he was basically kind of like a Hemsworth. So let me ask you a question.
Oh, yeah.
While putting this book together, you've written a few books, but obviously this book is probably a little bit more personal since it's kind of in your neck of the woods. Did you kind of find yourself? I've asked a few ghost tour hosts this kind of thing. With certain stories you kind of gravitate to more, is there any of them that kind of became almost like you had like a personal connection to? Does that ever happen for you, or are you able to separate that?
Well, I always have an interest in it, so that's really what keeps it going. I think the most personal one, while we were talking about cryptids up around the Enid area, told the story of the Hillsdale Monster, which was a story that my brothers and I traded back and forth so many times that we got the monster up to about 8 feet tall with glowing red eyes, I think, by the end of it. To which, when I got old enough that I was, starting to question stories and things, I asked my grandfather whether it was an actual story, and he said yes, but it wasn't what we thought it was. It was a kangaroo that had escaped from a circus train back in the 20s or 30s, and for years, people would be out hunting deer or driving down the highway, and they'd see a kangaroo jump out of the creek bottoms there and out across the field, which is not what you expect in central Oklahoma.
No, not at all, unless you live near Joe Exotic.
Yeah, which that's another type of scary.
That's
right
another
there.
type, and another type of tiger. Oh man! So Jeff, obviously you've written tons of books. Your specialty is the ghost tours. We know you're a busy guy. What do you got on the calendar? What's next? Where do we meet you?
Well, I've been doing lots of tours, Oklahoma City and Norman. So we got those going October 14th and 20th and 21st and 26th, all in Oklahoma City. And then Norman on the 12th and 20th. But the one I'm really pumped for is we did a pilot of this last year, teaming up with Core 4 Brewery to do a Film Row ghost tour.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about the Paramount Building and the Gray Man up at the Civic Center. All kinds of stories don't get to share very often.
Wait a second. No. Back up. You're not allowed to say the Gray Man at the Civic Center without talking about the Gray Man at the Civic Center.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot to be told there. So, which I first saw it when they were doing some spooky stories and just kind of showing stuff off on Facebook while they were closed up during COVID. And they had video footage of him. And you go on the Civic Center's website, you can still dig it up, or through their Facebook page. And it shows, back when they were doing Titanic the musical, a bunch of props from the actual Titanic there in the front. And the shadow moves past, and a bench scoots by as it moves by. And then the security guard comes running around the corner, and he stops and looks really confused and gets on his radio trying to figure out they clearly hurt somebody, and went over to go see who it was. But nobody was there. Typical
Titanic ghost.
So, what day is this particular ghost tour happening?
So that is Wednesday, October 18th at 7 o'clock.
Man, our timing and your timing is always bad. I mean, Yeah. So where will you be meeting up for that one?
Yeah, we'll meet up at Core 4, and we'll take a loop there around Film Row and a little bit of the Arts Quarter in OKC, and then we'll come back and finish up in the very basement of the Paramount Building, where they've heard EVPs and seen a lady in kind of mid-century dress, and they call her the pretty lady because they don't want to upset her.
Yeah, I do that to human women.
So, Jeff, how many books do you have out currently? What's the grand total in the library?
Yeah, I've got nonfiction of 9, and then I've got a couple of fiction novels, and my 31 Ghost Stories collection illustrated by Oklahoma City artist Ellis Goodson. Kind of like the old Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark with urban legends, all with spooky drawings.
Those are, we're all children of that era. Those are by far, people talk about Goosebumps books. The Scariest Stories to Tell in the Dark. The third one was okay, but the first two are still they're burnt and etched in, especially the artwork, it's just embedded in your brain. It lives there rent free.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Harold the Scarecrow, man.
Oh.
Oof.
Yeah, the movies didn't do those books. The movie didn't do those books any justice, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie, but how can you?
Yeah, there's no way.
Oof.
So I have one quick question to ask you. Do you think they will ever open up Central State or / Griffin to any type of tours, or are they just going to let that sit there in disrepair?
We'll find out since the Central State Mental Hospital is moving up to Oklahoma City. They signed the paperwork on it.
Okay.
Much to the chagrin of a lot of Normanites. But
how did that happen? How do you?
Be empty.
Did they lose that in a bidding war? How the hell did Norman let that happen?
Oklahoma City leaders just promised a whole bunch of land and money for the movement, and Norman just couldn't compete. So now I guess we'll have some buildings for sale pretty soon that have a lot of spooky stories attached to them.
Oh man,
so
it's what's
in the market.
What's funny about that place is I drove through there. I'm not TikTok famous. I have one viral video on TikTok, and it was me just videoing the grounds, and it got 120,000 views or something. People are really curious about that place, and there's a lot of history there, especially people that have lived there and go, "Oh, it's this and this." Everybody's got a story to tell or a curiosity about it. Even during the day, it's one of the creepiest campuses that you can. And it's just I don't know. It's a free roaming tour. I would give anything to take a piece of plywood off and go through that building. Honestly, have you been in there before?
Oh yeah. Yeah, years ago, they opened up the first floor of Hope Hall, which is the big long building with the balconies over the front doors, all fenced in.
Yeah.
Which sometimes they have wheelchairs out there and sometimes they don't. Which
interesting.
Is spooky since those upper floors are all sealed up for black mold. But they did have the first floor open for kind of a mental health awareness thing they did, which was a really cool outreach bit that also gave some really cool insights to just what was going on right there. It was mind-blowing. So a lot of the early electroshock therapy was actually experimented with there over at Griffin back in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, definitely. You get a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest vibe when you're down there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's mental health has come a long way. That's for sure. It has come long way.
Yes.
Something that I've never talked about on the show. I lived in Norman in 1983. I was in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I lived on Eufaula right by Griffin Memorial Hospital and walked past that place that is the most terrifying building when you can't actually see above the windowsills.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And then, if you had to walk past there after dark, it's like, I wouldn't do it today.
Now, Jeff, we talk about your job is kind of like being you're a storyteller. Let's be realistic, and you have to be damn good at it. Has there ever been a moment where what gives you the willies?
Actually, I am really easy to scare. I am constantly freaking out over even telling my own stories. So time and again.
You scare yourself?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Can you kill your own spiders though?
Oh, well, I try to capture them. And
me too. I don't kill them. I won't kill. I will relocate us. I just wanted to make sure what your level of creepy is and mine is. Free roaming specters are kind of where I draw the line. I just didn't know where your bar was.
Yeah. Well, we've had some tours where, like outside the barbershop in Norman, the apartment upstairs where the family had lived, and now it's all just storage sealed up. But during a tour, we had the blinds pulled back, or the curtains pulled back.
Oh boy!
Which nobody's lived up there for years, so I was across the street for the next couple of tours after that.
Yeah, it's either that or you paid a homeless person to pull the blinds back.
I've always talked about trying to get some costume people out or do a jump scare tour or something.
That would be
maybe
fun.
Someday.
Yeah, I went on your tour probably about 4 years ago at the OU tour, and we were in the library, and there's something about that library that I immediately kind of thought about the opening scene of Ghostbusters. I was waiting to see a stack of books stacked neatly, and because no human could possibly do that. But no, I've always enjoyed. I know people that have been on numerous tours with you. I've been on a couple of tours with you. You definitely are one of the best in the biz. We talked to Terry French last week with Tulsa and Stacy Frazier with Guthrie. You guys got your hands full, but y'all are top notch. All of you are top notch.
Thanks. Yeah, we do our best. And I had some folks who had just been on a ghost tour in New Orleans and said that we met the bar. So if we can compete with New Orleans, we're doing all right.
Yeah. Backing up just a minute back to Enid. If you don't mind, you had worked with Tammy Wilson. She's with Erie Enid Ghost Tours, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
She's been doing it for 15 or 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Her Ghostful Homewood book goes way, way back. Lots and lots of stories, which, again, I learned so much as I was putting that book together with her, just from things that I should have known, but had never even imagined would happen in a little town like Enid.
Yeah, that always shocks me when you come across one of those places that's just loaded with history.
And you don't think about it because you're in your we're all in a little bubble.
Right.
And then we need people like Jeff Provine to write a book called Haunted Garfield County. And people like Garfield. Right.
So all of your books, are they available on Amazon? What's the best place to find your books?
Well, I've got them all linked together at jeffprovine.com, and you can move from the links there. Bookshop, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you like picking up your books. And you should have them at places like Walgreens and Jumbo, Walmart, all kinds of good spooky book shopping.
Everywhere spooky, anywhere you can buy pumpkin spice, you can get Jeff Provine's book, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. So Jeff, your tours fill up fast. Do people need to be booking ahead of time? How does the next in line work? Do we have to book today to get on in 2 weeks or what?
I'd recommend it. Things are we've got a few spaces on each of the tours, so don't delay too much. But I've got them all through Eventbrite just to keep things organized. It's a far cry from when we were doing it back in 2015 and just kind of lined people up.
And are the tour dates and availability also available on jeffprovine.com?
That's right. Yep.
Perfect.
Well, Jeff, as always, hopefully it's not going to be 4 years before we talk to you again, but we do appreciate you taking the time out in your, I'm surprised you're not doing a tour right now, but the weather permitting, right? Tours are.
He might actually be holding his phone.
Right. We may be on a live chat right now with the whole tour, but we do appreciate you coming on. We know you're a busy guy, but 'tis the season. We gotta have the pros on.
Oh yeah, always glad to hang out with you guys.
Well, we appreciate it, and thanks again.
We are going to be collaborating on a few different things coming up. Hopefully with Jeff.
Some spooky kookiness.
But dude, he has a billion stories.
Yeah, he's got a billion stories. I feel so out of, I always talk to you about, and this is a little bit of behind the scenes. I talk to you about interviews sometimes. I get a little bit of an imposter syndrome. Like, even if you're talking about something that I'm fascinated with, I feel like if I don't have a PhD in parapsychology, that although we have done our own psychic, the Ghostbuster test, the psychic card test, I still don't feel like we're qualified enough to talk about anything besides a meatball subs.
You caught me with that one. I didn't expect it.
But yeah, Jeff is always a treat to have on. And again, I had thought, okay, it's been a couple years since we talked to him last. But time flies when you're having fun, and really time flies if you're Jeff Provine. I mean, he's added, I don't know how many merit badges to his vest since we've talked to him last, but definitely never a shortage of anything to talk about or share about. But yeah, looking forward to collaborating with him and a few of our other guests.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. And again, if you want more information on anything that Jeff Provine's doing, check out his website, jeffprovine.com.
Well, we solicit, and we rarely get any, we've started to get some feedback. People are catching on, hey, why don't we actually do what they ask us to do? It's called a call to action. People in the podcasting profession refer to as a call to action. You request your listeners to adhere to your rules and regulations. And occasionally they do that. And one of the things we ask for on a semi-regular basis are suggestions of places we need to go.
Yes. And do we have one of those?
We do. So one of our loyal listeners, Deb Ora, it's literally DEB space ORAH, I'm assuming it's Deborah, reached out. Now, do you know how I feel about grilled cheese? Have we talked about grilled cheese?
You're not a fan.
Not a fan. So what does she send? She sends me the Crimson Melt, opened in 2022. It's a gourmet grilled cheese experience. It is Air Force veteran owned, and it's literally 2 miles from my house.
So you have obviously fallen down on the job.
I did.
There's not a restaurant
I
within 20 miles of me that I have not tried for the show.
I know. I just found out about it. But why I haven't tried it yet? 2 reasons. One is payday. The other one is I'm not a huge fan of grilled cheese. Now, what I did say, because I did tell her, I said, I'm not a fan of messy food. She said, it's messy, but good to know. She went on to tell me that you want to go in hungry. Dude, they've got shakes that look like they've got candy bars sticking out of them. I don't know how you could have a grilled cheese and then have what we need to do. I really think we just need to do a show on this place. But gourmet grilled cheese, I'm not a huge fan. But you know what I told her? I said, you know what? For the listeners, I'll do it. So I plan on what?
I honestly don't know that there is a food in Oklahoma
that I won't eat,
that we wouldn't eat for the show.
You know what? That's right. Because we do it all for listeners. It used to be Cowboys, but they're not. I think that was Langston's. They did it all for, was that Teeners? I don't know. Anyway, we do it all for listeners.
We do. And if you're listening and there's a place that you want us to check out, a food that you think might stump Harley and Brett,
Yeah.
feel free to shoot us over an email, onlyinokshow@gmail.com.
I am always open to you changing my mind about grilled cheese, fudge, or anything. Challenge accepted.
Well, this has been the Only in OK Show. I'm Harley.
I'm Brett.
And we're out of here.
Peace. This show will not contain any outtakes. Warning. Try again.
I like their post. My favorite part of fall is when the mosquitoes go back to hell.
4 years and a pandemic later, welcome back to the show, Jeff. Let's talk about COVID. COVID ghosts. Do you think there's a bunch of them? You're like the Ryan Seacrest of the paranormal. You're everywhere.
Wow.
Well,
I should put that on a business card. That's
well,
great.
don't do that because I don't know what he's doing. It might degrade your career at this point. I don't know
Oh,
what
my.
he's doing right now.
Ghost tour season.
Yeah, once the pumpkin spice hits the shelves, Jeff doesn't stop moving until the end of October or 1st of November.
Till the
That's
flowers bloom in the spring.
Right?
You're going to be a granddad again for the 5th time.
Yeah, I'm going to be a great.
Most of your children
Or boys?
most of your children are below the age of 5.
Yeah.
So how the hell do you have like 22 grandchildren?
Well, how do I say this? My son has the same amount of common sense that I do
Okay.
at my age that I did at his age.
So my question to you, how much weed
Yeah.
does your son and his significant other smoke? Because I saw the name and I thought you were messing with me.
Oh, Willow
Sage Manzer.
Yeah.
That
That's
is definitely a baked name.
There was it sounds like there was some I don't know, some Val Kilmer involved or Warwick Davis or
just a batch of some special brownies.
Some special brownies made by Granddaddy Perp. I know, man. I think the bigger headline, it's been 20 years since a girl has entered the ring. It's been freaking Fight Club.
You do have a lot of boys on your side of the fence, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, I'm all about being Uncle Harley.
Yeah.
Favorite thing ever.
Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna have to work really hard on a nickname for Willow Sage.
Willie. I'm going to tell you right now. And if you act up, you're William. I don't know. Okay, Prince William. Because she's going to be spoiled. She'll never touch the ground. My kids are going to be just like, why does Dad was never that nice to me?
Yeah.
You were supposed to be a girl. Like we bet money. We did blood sacrifices. We did, I don't know, rub a lemon on your abdomen. All the witchery and all the witchery for the hatchery you could do to get a girl. When Tara found out that Mason, this is a true story, the day we found out, got the phone call, hi, ready to hear the gender? It was like literally that 5 seconds felt like an eternity. It was like, and all of a sudden, we don't even have a clock on the wall, and you could hear, and she said, it's a boy. And I think I went, and I think Tara went, okay. She hung up the phone. She cried.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, I was hoping for healthy. She's like, I was too. Yeah. I mean, we wanted one, so we kind of get one.
Yeah, you got a bonus granddaughter. So I will say, from my side,
yeah,
I have 4 girls and 1 boy. Ask my girls, and all of them will say that my son is my favorite. The accounting of how much time gets spent
right.
is down to the nickel or
yeah.
The second with the girls. But I will tell you, every one of those girls completely melted my heart. Whereas my son, like, just, like, you can cry if you want. It doesn't have the same impact.
It doesn't have the same impact. And my mom couldn't be, while we're making a blood pact to whatever deity or that we could to have a girl, my mom, I think she sacrificed 6 goats, a sheep, a neighbor's cat, and a chicken to make sure it wasn't a girl. She does not. What? So why don't you want a girl? All they do is scream. Now the funny part about that is Mason I love him. He's the baby. He is the biggest crybaby. He's got he's given her every bit of emotion that a girl ever could or would. And I said, you didn't have to get a girl. You got Mason. He screams. He cries. He's got all the attitude you could ever want. But now, like, I couldn't get her to answer the phone when I knew because Caleb told me, because I'd been hounding his ass. When you find something out, I want to know. I was calling him. We know anything yet? No, Dad. We won't know until next week. Next week rolls around. Well, know anything yet? No, he literally says, Dad, you'll be the first person to know when I know something. So I see him call out of the blue. I'm like, well, it's a girl. I said, have you told Oma, which is my mom? He goes, no, I'm going to tell her. I'm going to tell her last.
That's
so
funny.
she went dark for a little bit. You couldn't reach her with a messenger pigeon.
Dude, she does. I don't understand how she has developed an issue with baby girls, because she, like, your track record over there.
Yeah.
99% boys.
Oh yeah, if it was me, I'd be banking on a chick to roll in at some point. As many girlfriends as I've had, to only have 3 kids, and all of them be boys. I mean, she kind of hit the lottery. So, I mean, she knows she's not getting one out of me now.
Yeah.
The hedges have been trimmed. Nice. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it, man. Spring 2024, dude. Everything changes. My kids will be begging for my attention.
I think we're
3, 2, 1. Well, Oklahoma, Scuba Fab Abbott